What up, you guys? Welcome to episode number 4 of the Down in the Dirt podcast, where we are getting dirty talking baseball. I am your host, Carson Lee, and today I'm joined on the show by my good friend, my teammate, Justin Kortessis. He is from Fort White, Florida, where out of high school he went to St. John's St. Rivers State College to begin his career. He ultimately ended up taking 2 years off and decided he wanted to resume playing again, where he went on to play at Pensacola State College and wound up getting an opportunity to play at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. So listen in as Justin talks about his journey from high school to junior college and to his 4-year university. He also shares why he gave up on baseball and what ultimately motivated him to want to start playing again, the work he had to put in, and how he once again landed in a college program and was awarded a scholarship. We talk about Justin's transition into professional baseball, and we get into our travels up in the Can-Am League in Canada and the differences between college baseball, professional baseball, and even the minor differences there are in the different professional leagues. We answer some of the social media questions and get into what it takes to have such a great looking beard that we all strive for and the products he used to keep the girls away. We talk about some of the quirky things that go on down in the bullpen with those pitchers, and we finish the interview with the quick fire round of questions. I hope you guys enjoy this interview with Justin and you can see the love and passion this dude has for the game and the great personality he has that makes him such a great teammate. But, of course, before we start the interview, I have to ask you guys that at the end of the episode, you like the episode and you leave a comment below of what you thought. Give me some feedback on how the podcast is doing, what you do and you don't like, and maybe share with me some of the things that you want me to talk about on the show. Be sure to share the link with your friends so they can listen also. And don't forget to subscribe so that you are notified whenever a new episode is out. Remember, the podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and YouTube. I just want to let you know that I truly appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening, and once again that this podcast is nothing without the support of the people listening to it, so thank you. But now, let's get on to the interview with Justin Kortessis. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, the bearded one, the redneck rocket, Mr. Justin Kortessis himself. How you doing, bud?
Not too bad. My friend, how are you?
Doing great. Last week out here in Florida, man.
Yeah.
All right, so let me give you guys a little bit of history on Justin. So he is a third baseman, also a pitcher. More of a pitcher, right?
It seems to be the... That seems to be what it's turning out
the general
to be.
consensus?
That seems to be what it's turning out to be.
He's from Fort White, Florida. He went to junior college I'm getting ahead of myself, Pensacola State College, and then he went to the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, in the NAIA in the Sun Conference.
Correct. That is correct.
And
Little known actual fact, though. Pensacola State wasn't my first college. I went to St. John's River State College out of high school. I signed as a left-sided fielder. I wasn't even allowed to pitch my freshman year in college, which actually, going back to the episode where you and Pete were talking, touching on the fact that you guys talk about fires that driven you to get where you're at today. My coach, the head coach there at the time, told me that if I was to ever step on a college mound, I would blow my shoulder out. And I just kind of took that and ran with it because somebody told me something I couldn't do. So, and now I'm in my second professional year as a pitcher, and I can't even hit anymore. So,
well, I was looking, I was doing the research for the episode, and I was looking back at the pictures of college. Dude, you're a different man now.
Yeah, I mean, I've...
if you're watching the live video stream, I guess it's not live, but the YouTube stream, look at this beard this guy has.
Yeah, it's getting a little intense. I'd say this is probably one of its longer points, but I think it's been a little bit longer, not as well maintained, but I think it was a little bit longer.
The mustache is the thing.
The mustache was a lot longer, but it's been trimmed up.
Yeah.
But now I went from a couple different transformations. I was actually fat at one point in college, and that was another morphing change, but yeah, I went from clean. I don't think I've been shaved down to the face though since Pensacola. So
Yeah, I mean those pictures you were like scruff.
Yes.
I didn't even know who you were.
Yeah.
You look like a completely different man.
I'm a completely different human.
It's all right. At the end of the episode, we'll have some fun with the beard.
Yeah.
We had a couple listeners that were interested about the beard.
Oh, they always are.
Let's jump right into it. Right off the bat, we have a question from R Maldonado 24. I think Ryan Maldonado. He has the same question I have. How long have you been playing baseball? What's the story? How'd you get started? Growing up, playing select ball. What's the Justin Kortessis story?
Gotcha. So the beginning, most like many of you guys who listen and many who I've played with and against for all these years, I started 5 years old, probably around that age, playing t-ball. Came up. Came from a really small town, so I kind of just played in the recreational leagues around until I was 15, and started getting into a little bit better player at that point in time. So finally started getting some attention from different surrounding counties from people. So finally got on a travel team at the age of 16, and we went and did a couple little tours at some colleges. I got a scholarship offer from the St. John's River State College in Palatka, Florida, to play infield or outfield for them. Went to St. John's out of high school. I played 3 years of high school baseball, varsity level, or I played all through high school actually, and middle school, but kind of just jumped ahead there. But
it's all good, man.
Yeah, played a little bit of travel ball from 16 on up, and then played through high school, had my one scholarship offer, so I went to St. John's River, and that's where I had my first injury, which I tore my labrum in my left arm.
I thought you were supposed to tear it on the right shoulder.
Yeah, I know. This guy had it completely backwards.
Yeah.
He told me to do this, and I did the other. So, yeah, I tore my shoulder. I dislocated my shoulder, tore my labrum, and that's where I actually finished up the year. Didn't have that great of a freshman year. Decided I was going to quit baseball, and I actually hung it up.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had quit this game. Yeah, a lot of people who know me back home just because they've been with me through a lot of the journey, because my town, like I said, it's very small, so whatever somebody does, everybody knows. So they've kind of kept up with that, but a lot of people don't know that I did. I quit for almost 2 years, and I finally got the drive burnt back into me to get after it, and I went to an open tryout at Pensacola State College for a pitcher, as a pitcher only, and I earned a walk-on spot there that fall, and then that spring I earned a scholarship and had I was a bullpen guy for them, and then I furthered my career on through college after that.
So let's jump back to the beginning real quick. You even played travel ball until you were 16.
So I was 16.
So what, because I guess you're already a sophomore at that point, right?
Yeah.
So was there any kind of a competition gap from what you'd been playing to jumping into travel ball, or was it kind of just now you're just traveling to go places instead of just playing baseball?
Well, not really. I actually had played up in a lot of leagues. I had to get, so for the rec league that I was playing in, I had to get approval from the Babe Ruth Commission to play in the league higher up at 11 years old, because they were 13 to 15-year-old kids.
I got you.
So the competition was just better. I played with those kids up there, but I'd been playing at such a higher level, younger, and not doing bad. I guess I was just doing as good as everybody else. I didn't really catch anybody's attention until I was finally mandated to be in my own age group, and that's when I started to show.
So then once you went into travel ball, that's when you started getting recruited.
Right. Well, we started getting outside the area of where I've just played ball.
And so then you were just getting seen by college coaches and stuff like
right.
that.
Yeah, we did a college tour when I was 16. We went to University of Jacksonville, St. John's River State College, I think Polk, Pasco, Hernando, a couple other JUCOs throughout the state. And we went and played at different stadiums and parks, and that's basically how I got my exposure. So, not a lot. I didn't really follow baseball growing up. I didn't really watch a lot of TV. So, I mean, I knew I loved to play the game, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I just kept going to wherever they would let me play at, basically.
Which is what we're still doing.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I'd like to say I'm a little bit smarter about it.
The way we're going about it.
Yeah, that's the way we're going.
Where they roll the balls out, we're going to play.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Did you play any other sports in
in high school, or was just baseball the only thing you were doing?
So
you said baseball was your love, but you didn't particularly follow the game.
Right, I didn't particularly follow the game. It's just because I had a lot of extracurricular stuff going on back home. Like I was always either working with my dad or going out, and I'm a very outdoorsy person, as you could probably see if you're watching the feed. I'm very scruffy, and I look like I should be out in the elements, but I just I can't get enough outside in the outdoors, and I never really just sat around a TV. That's never was really my high thing on the priority to-do list. So it was hard for me. I never really kept track of ball. I just knew if I could go play baseball, that's what I was going to go do. So I would just rather go do that instead.
So now, you said you got into college at your first year, and you ended up quitting. Let's talk about that. Was there any specific reason, or you just weren't enjoying the game? How did that kind of happen?
So after my injury, I went through therapy through the school. I had a nice recovery process. I was able to come back, and the starting spot for our teams had already been filled up. I knew I'd just have to get my opportunities when I did. And being young, it was probably immaturity that really hurt me the most, because I'd gone from an everyday player coming from such a small town. Like, I was pretty talented in my pool, but finally being in an area where you have the talented person off every team onto one team now. Exactly. It's a big transition. So I would say, looking back at it now with a clearer mind, I'd say a little bit was immaturity and not being prepared and able to handle that and process that truthfully. But me and the head coach didn't have the best relationship after things had transpired through the season. So I figured for my best outlook, it was just time for me to get out of that situation. Yeah. And nobody before me from my school, since they're small, went to college and pursued baseball like I had. I was the third person from my high school to get picked up on a baseball scholarship after all. So this was my only option. I decided to leave it. I truthfully didn't know where to go next. Yeah. So like a lot of people, I just went back home. But I went back home and started working full time as an aircraft mechanic, actually, and I did sheet metal repairs on United airplanes, A320s and A319s.
Well, I'm glad I'm flying United to go home.
Sure.
Those days would be way good taken care of.
I'm not working there anymore, so they may not be as sturdy as when I was there. But yeah, man, I quit, and I went back home because that's the only thing I knew how to do, and I went to work because that's just where I was raised.
So how long until you start playing again?
I went to work full time. I continued my education. I got my associate's degree the second year in college like I was supposed to, and I graduated, or I got my associate's degree, and I didn't want to waste any more money because, like I said, I come from a small town. I really don't have too much pocket change rolling around, so I couldn't waste any money on classes that I didn't know I needed, so I stopped going to school until I figured out which direction I wanted to go. Uh-huh. So I went back to working with my dad. I've worked with my dad growing up. This is another flashback, but I've worked construction and heavy equipment with my dad since I was a little kid. It's a family-operated business, so I decided to go work back with him, which I've done every summer and every free chance of time I've got. And after about 6 months of doing it, I decided
this is not for me.
I figured if I was going to dedicate my life to doing something 10 hours a day, and it was going to be something I enjoyed. So I decided to put the spikes back on. I started training. 6 months later, I went to an open tryout. I slept on my buddy's couch halfway there at midnight, woke up at 5 in the morning, drove to Pensacola, sat through 3 hours of rain, waited for it to clear up, and threw a bullpen, and they offered me before I left the parking lot. So it's crazy. It's crazy what a little determination will do to somebody.
Exactly, and that determination, like we talked about on Pete's podcast, the reason for this podcast is why we're still here, and so I want to share these stories so people know that. I think that's good insight because I get a lot of questions from guys that say, well, I didn't make the team my freshman year. What should I do? Or, right. I'm not playing travel ball. What should I do? Or they have all these different excuses because everyone thinks that the path is supposed to be 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, first round draft pick, 2 years in the minors straight to the big leagues. And
right.
It doesn't work like that. You can play professional baseball. You can play college baseball by taking all these different avenues, which is what your story shows, not playing travel ball until 16, and then even taking a year off, and you still wound up playing 4 years of college baseball, and now have 2 years of professional experience, and we're going into our third. So
correct, which is it's that's the thing. I think we all get painted a beautiful picture of how it's supposed to be played out, and a lot of it's fed by, other coaches and players kind of feeding that into everybody's ego, because you got to have that mindset that you want it to really get it. But the truth is, there's very few that get that route that everybody envisions.
And the unfortunate reality is, the ones that are getting that route, it's not us. They're the ones that are the first-round draft picks.
They are the freaks of baseball.
Yes,
you'll hear that in every level. There's just freaks of baseball. They've
been gifted, but those guys were destined from that at a young age. You could see the difference in talent. In high school, you knew this guy was going to be a top draft pick, and that's their path. And that's a very small percentage of guys. So, and that's not us. But there's still ways that you can get it done if you have that determination, like we talked about.
But I didn't see that, and I would just take the liberty of saying you didn't see that until you've become older and you've been through these different levels.
Exactly. It's the adversity you have to go through, to get there. But let's talk about now Pensacola State. You're going back to school, going back to playing college baseball. Was there a transition getting back into it, or was it fairly simple? And then what was the season like? Throwing a lot of questions at you here.
No, it's good.
What was the season like, and then transition to your recruiting process of leaving Pensacola to go to University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
Right.
Did I say Beaufort last time?
No, I don't think so. I think you said Beaufort.
Okay, just making sure I got it right.
No,
I'm bad with my words.
That's okay. I English very terrible sometimes. So, Pensacola State, I went there, like I said, I went there as a pitcher only, and this is kind of the funny thing, this is the struggle I've been facing ever since then, and it's just haunted me every place.
We talk about this every day.
So I went there, and I threw very well for a bullpen. They kind of got my backstory, and I told them, and they kind of offered me in the parking lot, but I told them I had to leave because I had to work the next day. So it was a 5-hour drive back to my house, and it was like 2 in the afternoon because we had to wait to pitch because of the rain.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for letting me come out and throw. I was like, but I got to go. And they're like, well, don't you want to hang out? And I was like, I can't. I got to go to work because, I need to make some money. And I left. They called. They offered. I went back. And the transition back wasn't hard at all for me because I just wanted to be there for so long because I had finally stepped into a real work environment with responsibilities, and the consequences for your actions were there at your feet if you were to do something wrong. Yeah. Especially with working on, like I said, I did aircraft repairs. Like there was no joke. Like 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid was coming out of college, and you just gotta figure it out. So,
especially with an aircraft,
right? But I figured, I was like, I'm not ready for all that responsibility yet. So I decided to go back to school.
Yeah.
So going back to Pensacola wasn't hard. I don't mind going to school. I'm actually, for being as big of a goofball as I am, I'm actually very good with my studies. Like I put that.
Well, no, you have your responsibilities in check.
I do, and I feel like I've always been pretty decent at doing that. But it's a hard transition for some guys, especially at junior college level. And I kind of went through that phase my freshman year. But after seeing it, being out of it for so long, and finally getting my focus on to what I wanted to do and be successful at, it was very easy for me to go back. And I had to get my schoolwork done, but I also put in time for this and that if I wanted to, be where I wanted to be for baseball. So that year at Pensacola, it really wasn't even that good of a year. I was a reliever. I think I had like a sub 5 ERA, not too bad, probably 40-something innings. And had a couple offers coming out from different NAIA schools. And truth of the reality was my time clock to go to a higher division other than NAIA was literally running out. I'd waited so long to go back to school.
Yeah.
I could only go to NAIA due to their regulations.
Yeah, which what he's talking about is if you go to NCAA Division I, Division II, Division III, you have to play 4 years in 5 years. So as soon as you play your first year, that clock starts ticking. You have 5 years to do those 4 years. So that's what he's referring to when he says that his clock was slowing down.
Correct. I'd wasted so many years that technically I was on my 4th year, and if a larger school was to pick me up, I would only be eligible for 1 more year. So a lot of schools didn't really have a lot of interest in me because of that, and which kind of hurt me. But I still had some decent offers. I had a couple of Division II offers that were kind of far away from home, I hadn't had a really decent year, and I was like, my parents love to come watch me play, and I'm all about family. I'm a big family guy. I love my mom. I'm not afraid to show that, or my dad, and I thank them for everything they do. So I was like, if I could be close to them and play close to them so they could come watch, that'd be for the best. So I got a call. I got a call one day from our coach. He said there was a coach who was interested in me. It turned out to be Brian Llewellyn from University of South Carolina, Beaufort. And met with Lou, who's just kind of a real laid-back guy. And he was like, man, we have a beach. And he's like, we kind of live on a resort. He's like, our baseball field's not the best. And he was just real kind of down to earth with it. And I was like, I can hang with this guy. I was like, if I'm going to do my last 2 years somewhere, I was like, on the beach with a guy like this doesn't seem too bad.
Yeah.
So we ended up being actually really friggin' good my junior year. We were like 5th in the country at one point. We had a regional run, hosted our regionals that year. Season came to a short screeching halt right there at regionals, but it was one of the best decisions that I thought I made in my life, just because I was really enjoying being a part of the game again and having that camaraderie as a team and a teammate. It was just something really, really special.
And there's 2 things off that I want to emphasize. I want to emphasize the first one first because it's kind of a smaller picture thing. But you said that you enjoyed those 2 years there. Not only were y'all good, but you had a good relationship with your coach. Those are a lot of things I think people underlook when they're getting recruited to college because they're just looking at the big name, the status of the school, that it's Texas, it's Oregon,
right.
It's North Carolina, it's whatever, and they don't think about the fact that how much playing time are they going to get? What's this program like? What kind of players does this coach cater to?
Right.
How can I develop my skills in these 4 years? Like, how is this setting my baseball career up? And I know I did that. I didn't look at it that way when I was young. And, I think it sounds like when you got to go into USCB that you start having that perspective on it. And a lot of guys, I think if they could have that perspective in high school, it would make them a lot more enjoyable for their college career. Because, a lot of guys, just like I said, they don't look at it that way. They just see the big status and they want to have, it's nice to have a big prestigious name on your chest, but if you're not enjoying it and you don't have a good relationship with your coach, you're not developing, what good is it doing you? It's not doing you any good at all.
Right. It's hard to develop then, and then once it becomes to that trying times, it's very hard to persevere through.
Exactly. And a lot of people have trouble getting through that adversity, like you said, to persevere through that. But then the second thing I want to emphasize or kind of talk about is you did junior college and into a 4-year school, which is also what I did. And I'm so thankful for that route because for me, one of my biggest things about going to junior college was I wanted to step into play my freshman, sophomore year.
Right.
I didn't want to go to a 4-year school and have to be stuck behind the sophomore that's a stud or wait till my junior year because I'm getting 20 at-bats my freshman year and 100 my sophomore year, whatever, gradually coming into getting playing time.
Mm-hmm.
Was that something you thought of out of high school, or was that just kind of how the path planned out? What are your thoughts about that you could shed some light to guys that really don't even know anything about junior college or are kind of intimidated by going to junior college? They don't think they're going to get recruited by a big 4-year university.
Right. Well, it kind of honestly just you got to be really honest with yourself at some point and just see if you can, because everybody wants the dream of going to a 4-year big prestigious school, and even if you do have that spot behind somebody, you're like, oh, my time's coming if I just put in these 2 years. Yep. The fact of the matter is that time, that's most reality of the time, that's not going to happen. I'm very thankful I went to junior college first. I think it's a great experience. I think it teaches a lot of people about, because a lot of junior college stuff is just, it's kind of dirty and grimy and just
like this podcast.
It's just like
down in the dirt.
It's down in the dirt, man. But it's just like a very good building block that I feel like people need to go through, especially athletes need to go through, other than going to a 4-year school, because it's a completely different setting. Most junior colleges are in smaller communities, smaller towns. It's predominantly athletes, and it's just
you learn to be a family with guys.
That's it. You learn to bond with something other than your family, and you learn to build off of like that. You have to figure out who to trust and this, that, and it's a good life building place, honestly. Truthfully. So, but the transition, because I think there's a point to where you have to go through these types of phases, and junior college is a good place to go through a lot of phases that you're going to go through when you're 18, 19, through baseball and life in general. And then once you grow out of that phase, which is probably in about 2 years, you usually want to go somewhere else and start getting into more of like a real life setting.
Yeah, and then that really grooms you to be at the university, and you're mature, so you're better prepared for it. I think.
I think it shows you how you were, and then if you stay in that setting for another year, you kind of see that you were like, okay, this was me last year, and I'm here now, and I knew I respected this person who was in my shoes before me.
Yeah.
So it just kind of is a building chain.
Yeah. So after your 4 years of college through junior college and your 2 years at USCB, what would you say is the Sand Sharks? I love that freaking
the Sand Sharks.
Such a sick.
Our bus driver one time.
Such a sick mascot.
Our bus driver one time for 2 years, he called us. For the first year, he actually called us the Sand Gnats. He didn't even know what we were. We were the Sand Sharks.
The Sand Gnats getting on the bus.
He is what it's saying. He's like, "What's the Sand Shark? Is that a bug?" And we're like, "No, it's a shark."
But so after those 4 years, what was your best college moment? You would say.
Best college moment, as in just overall.
Just overall.
Oh my God! I'd probably say there's a couple big time moments where being like a clutch person in a game is always a big star moment. But I don't know, man. I'd probably say clinching, because I've never won like a district or a championship or anything like that. So probably my best college moment was probably first getting the scholarship back into baseball. That's a big one that I hold pretty dear. But I'd say whenever we when we clinched our conference championship, my junior season, with that team I was talking about. If you've hung around me, which I've referenced that team a lot because it was just such a great year for me in my life. So I'd probably say my entire junior season of my college baseball career, just the whole season, was something that I'd always dreamed about and wanted. And we may not have went to the World Series or won anything, but it was such a great experience.
The memories you created.
Oh my goodness. I'm friends with, I still talk to half that team to this day, once a week, more likely.
And that's, even though, I've said this before, even though I left my junior college, TJC, I left them my sophomore year to go to Northlake, and they went on to win the World Series that year. And that's one thing I always say is I believe that chemistry is what propelled them to win that national championship. Not that they didn't have the talent,
right.
But it gave so much more to the team for what was going on the field and off the field, because everybody was playing for each other, and it wasn't a selfish me game.
And I guarantee you, if you ask anybody else on that team, they would agree.
Yeah, because it's just you become a family, and like you said, through junior college, through the school, it's the camaraderie you build with the guys around, and it's such a different experience because you're with them, for really year-round.
Yeah.
From August to June.
They become your actual family when you leave your family.
Yeah, exactly. So now you graduate college. What was, you're transitioning into pro ball. You end up going to the Garden City Wind. What was that transition like? How did you get set up with Garden City? And then we'll jump into a nice little transition into good old Pecos League.
So, when I finished up my senior year, I wasn't talking to anybody. I didn't have any offers on the table. Nothing really came of it. I tried to get my college coach to, kind of give me a direction because I was like, hey, man, I kind of want to play some more. And he was kind of gave me a roundabout answer and was kind of like, I'll get back to you on it, and kind of left it at that. So I made some phone calls to some buddies who I played with all through college and just kind of picking their brain to see what they were doing because the draft was coming up, and we were like, maybe we get some free agent deals. The hopefuls. I'll take a late 40, round pick.
I mean, I'll take anything.
I'd take
continue
anything.
Playing baseball.
Yeah, everybody said I would go for a ham sandwich and just a bus ticket, and I'll pay for the bus ticket.
Yeah.
And the sandwich. So I don't know, man. We just kind of sat there and waited, and nothing happened. And I called my friend. He said, give this guy a call. Which was Marvin Speaks. He works. He's a coach for the Catawba Valley Stars and the Virginia Valley League, I think. Carolina Valley League, I believe.
Oh yeah, I know that league.
And
the summer league, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know that league.
And they take seniors on, I believe, some of those teams. So I was a senior. I didn't have I was basically finished with school for the semester, and I just wanted to keep playing. So I called him. He said, come on up. I came up, and I threw a bullpen for him. I actually threw a live game for him. I threw in a game live for him, and I threw 3 innings. I struck out like 4 or 5 people, and I was pretty letting it go. And he looked at me in the dugout. He said, "We'll get you somewhere by the end of the month." And I drove up to North Carolina, to Hickory, North Carolina, every Friday or Thursday, depending on when we were playing games. And I would pitch against the Coastal Plains teams we were playing because they were the better teams. And I would start. I would drive 5 hours, sleep in Marvin's house in a little attic on an air mattress. And then we would get up, go play. And when we get done, I would get in my truck and drive back because it would be Sunday night. I could work on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I did kind of a pre-Pecos grind before I got to the Pecos. But that was a great experience. Huge shout out to the Top Valley Stars and Marvin Speaks for just being a great all-around guy, because he gave me a shot whenever, kind of when nobody was there.
Yeah.
And stuck his hand out, helped me, and he pointed me in the direction of David Peterson, which was the manager of the Garden City Wind at the time. And I was with Marvin, I think, for a month. The draft came and went, and he sent me out to the Pecos League, and I was there for the last 2 weeks of the season, or 3 weeks of the season.
And so now transitioning into the Garden City Wind, the Pecos League, we would go on. Me and Justin would go on to play for the California City Whiptails this past year,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went and played in Canada for the Salina Stockade in the Can-Am League. We were there for about 2 weeks. But so, what was the transition like for you going from college to pro ball? And because now it is pro ball, even though the stuff that we have to deal with off the field, which it's part of the grind. It comes with the territory,
Right.
but on the field, the baseball aspect, how was that transition different from college?
So college, which it's kind of hard for me to answer that question because my junior year, the one I always, like I said, the one I'm going to reference a bunch, we went from 2 coaches that really didn't try to tell you how to play. They just let us play our game, which overall made us better.
Yeah.
Because there was no forces opposing against each other. We had a brand new coach come in my senior year who was a very developmental type of coach. And he would try to develop guys into something that he wanted them to be, instead of just working off their natural abilities of what got them to where they were. Because he was just getting a brand new team, like none of these guys that he had recruited. So it was kind of like we were fighting against each other most of the year. And to get from that to somebody's trying to tell you what to do every day, you have a set schedule by these guys, to getting to pro ball where it's, we play at this time, these are our times to do this slot, this is our time slot for this is our time slot for that. And it's kind of on you at that point, which I have no problem, much like yourself. I'm very self-disciplined at this point where I will put aside the time to go do this, especially when it's allotted for us. I have no problem. There's no excuse not to get there. So it's just, I think it was a lot easier to go from having somebody try to constrict you down and hold you accountable to their ideas and things, to being able to do your own thing, but you have this allotted time to do it, and this is when you're supposed to do it. And if you don't, it's on you, because if you don't produce, then you don't play.
Exactly. It's your career at the end of the day.
Right. So self-accountability is, I think, the best thing in pro ball, because it just kind of weeds the guys out who don't want to be here.
Yep.
And I think overall benefits the guys who do, truthfully. So I actually enjoyed the transition from college ball to pro ball. I think it was
so.
Great.
Was there ever
I think it was easy.
Has there ever been a moment for you in these past 2 years? You hear. I'm going somewhere different.
I was just like, what?
Well, I'm going somewhere different with this question.
Some emotions. I've had plenty.
But was there ever that feeling of, like a lot of guys, or for me, for instance, I've had friends talk about that there's, the grind. They talk about the grind.
Right.
How tough the grind is. Was there ever a feeling for you where the grind was too much for you, or you were ever like, this is, the grind it's a struggle? Because for me, I made that transition, and like you said, I didn't have to worry about anything playing baseball. Show up for BP. I have my allotted time slots, play the game, go home,
get your personal side work in.
Yes, sleep, and then go to the gym next morning, do it all again the next day. So for me, I never understood what guys meant by the grind.
Right.
So for you, what's your perspective on the grind?
So the grind is just the everyday. It's so funny because you hear this every age group. It's the little things, and it truthfully is. That's the grind. The grind is do you want to go play every day? Everybody's going to say yes. But do you want to go play every day and hit the gym afterwards, after being in the sun for a couple hours, after standing out there and not getting to play, but you got to, umpire some of these games. You have to, and it's the little things. It's like, man, I want to go home and just sleep. Well, you may go home and just sleep, but somebody else is going home. They may sleep, but they're going to get back up and go to the gym probably.
Yeah.
And you may just sleep through the night. So I don't know, man.
Is there such a thing as the grind?
The grind is just the everyday, because it's a monotonous thing. You get up and do the same thing every day. We're coming to play baseball, and
that's your job at the end of the day.
that's it. That's what you're going to do every day from here on out. I mean, I think that kind of mentally wears on guys. And for me, I haven't gotten to a point yet, I'd say, where the grind, truthfully, is like bothered me. But I've questioned myself. I question myself on a daily basis. I think we all do, and I think it's because we all want to know, man, is this worth it? Is it, but if you put in the actual time and the effort, and you truthfully know that you've put in 100%, at the end of the day, you really don't have to ask that question because the results are there.
Yeah, and it's about the journey and not the destination ultimately.
Right.
It's about enjoying all the stuff that we get to do and that comes with these opportunities.
I think that's the grind. The grind is like knowing if you put in that extra hard work, you will get that extra benefit at the end of the day. But it's just a lot of people aren't willing to put. They're willing to put 95%, but not that 100%, just in case.
Yeah.
So I think the few and far between that put that 100%, they're
That's
the ones who
what
truthfully go through the grind.
propels them forward too.
Right.
So, and talking about propelling forward, like I said, we got to go up to the Can-Am League, which is a higher independent league. They would equivalent it to AA baseball because of the experienced guys that they have playing on those teams. And we got a little taste of that going up there for the 2 weeks that we were there.
Oh, yeah.
What was, in your perception, what was the biggest difference from playing in the Can-Am League and playing with guys that have a lot more experience and a lot better resumes than we do and have been affiliated ball and, even a few big leaguers that we played against, like the guy from when we were in Quebec. And then, what was the difference from playing from that to playing, Pecos League and kind of, the rookie ball essentially of independent baseball?
So you, like the actual game, like the speed, or like the whole game, or like just
anything,
everything?
Yeah, just anything in general that was,
Well, obviously the leagues are a lot better. The Can-Am League is obviously a lot better than the Pecos League. It's a little more well funded, better stadiums, better crowds. They have better stuff to go with it. The game's a lot faster. In our games, they would drag on necessarily or unnecessarily sometimes for hours, and I can see why nobody wants to come watch that. No one wants to come watch a 4-hour ball game. But people like to watch quick, fast-paced games. So that was the one thing that was a big change from our league to that league was the pace. Even between innings, I got my first taste of that coming up. You get 2 minutes between innings. I don't care. I don't care what you're doing. That clock hits whenever the inning starts. If you're not warm in that 2 minutes, then throw your one ball in there so he can throw it down and get started.
Yep.
But it's a lot faster paced. Strike zones are a little bit better in the higher leagues.
This is without the robot too.
Yes, this is without the robot. Which honestly, I as a pitcher, like, God, man, this guy's squeezing me. But truthfully, it makes you better because it kind of just shows you if you got your stuff or not. If you want to talk the junk and get up there, well, do it. You've got to hit a 7-inch square with a man holding the bat in the box right there who's trying to waylay it. So I think it truthfully hones in your skills when you play up at a higher level like that because it kind of just makes you focus. And a lot of people, I think it shows if they can't or not.
Yeah, because you gotta.
The pressure's on.
Up your game too.
That's it. It's a lot easier to do that stuff in the Pecos League because there's not as many eyes on you. You're not really in a spotlight area. But on those fields, those lights are very bright.
Yes.
On that mound, it is a very lonely place. And if you get in a tough spot, you have to get yourself out of it. So I think it honestly just sharpens you down and hones you in.
But it's still baseball at the end of the day.
That's it. Truthfully, and if you're not, honestly, this is the biggest thing. When guys talk to me about stuff, and my number one thing is, it's like, why did you play baseball when you were 5 years old when we all said we started playing baseball? You tell me one reason why.
We want to have fun.
Did you love it? Did you have fun?
Yes.
It was a fun game, right?
Yes.
You didn't know anything other than it was a lot of fun to hit that ball or throw that thing.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you can't find that strange little love that you had when you were 5 years old when you knew nothing about it? Because we know a lot more about it now.
Yeah.
You know 10 times the amount I do. I feel like I really don't know that much about baseball, other than I love it so much. I want to play it every day and just be on the field. Yep. And I'll do that any way I can. You seen today, I literally umpired for 4 innings. I was in left for 2, and then I was at third for 2. And I just started the day before. So it's just, like, if you don't have that love still, and you still can't just show up to the ballpark just to do stuff.
At 25 years old.
At 25 years old.
26, 27, 28.
I'll be 26 in 2 months. It's if you can't just show up to the ball field and have a great time with it, then it's honestly probably not the thing that you truly love. Then.
Exactly. Now, transitioning to postseason, once the season's over, your off-season routine.
Oh man,
because I know for you, I know you're training for the third base side, but also the pitcher side. So you're still training as a position player,
right?
But when you go into it with the pitcher's mentality, what's a pitcher's off-season like?
So
take us through that.
So like I said, I've been battling. We're rolling way back here, but this is a funny side note that I thought you guys would enjoy if you're listening, is the whole reason I liked Lou whenever he picked me for college, because I asked him whenever he was recruiting me, I said, hey, I can hit, because at Pensacola, the hitting coach wouldn't let me hit. I got one AB and hit a line drive back at the shortstop. Never got one again because the season was over. But I asked that coach if I could hit, and he said, if you can come out and earn a spot. I ended up I hit in the 4-hole the first game we played in the season. So I was kind of a fan of him because he let me hit. But truthfully, I think I train a lot more because I do predominantly get more eyes on me as a pitcher. And I train predominantly more as a pitcher in the off season. So for the off season, when I get done with season, I take 2 months completely off. I don't do a single thing, other than work, obviously, because being in the Pecos, it's not the most financially stable job. So I had to go. I had to go back to work, and I kind of just take a mental break from baseball which
is needed, I think.
Right, and a lot of you guys think you're pushed to the max and stretched now mentally with baseball, dude. You've only begun to understand it just a little bit. And if I was listening in a couple of years ago, I'd be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's some fried guy from Florida who baked in the sun too long, so he's crazy. But
what's a pitcher's off-season like?
So I don't do anything for 2 months. I just work, and I kind of, like I said, I kind of just mentally just take a breather for a while, because it is exhausting, because mentally every day you're kind of just trying to, you think about it. What can you improve on here? Could I do this? Try this out instead of that? What would be the effect? And just a mental break from being away from your family and stuff like that. It's nice to come home.
Yeah.
I mean, you finally get to come home, and we talked about this the other day. The Marlins, what was the Marlins? Chad was mentioning this, that you have 2 personas, and you truly do. And I didn't realize this until later on, and being in a professional setting. Like, I'm a completely different person on the field, away from my family and state, than I am when I'm back home.
Yeah.
And it's
you
just
have to be able to manage those 2 different people.
Right. And it's tough sometimes, because he said it the other day. He's like, sometimes this guy comes home with you.
Because I think
Dennis Belfry from the Rolling Freedom said that the other day in his meeting. And it's crazy, because a lot of people would just say that's kind of insane, but you have to. You have to change it.
Dual personalities.
There is, and you have to learn to manage it. And I caught myself this last season. I came back home, and I caught myself just kind of being the way I was in California, which, it wasn't necessarily a bad person, but it's just different. And when you carry that home with you, it just has some different effects, because, my parents were kind of like, are you okay? Like, you need to talk to somebody. And I was just like, I'm sorry. Like, I was just like, I'm not crazy. It's just, I need to, like, get back into the setting of being your son instead of being the grown man who's out on the road.
Yeah.
Because no one's there out when, I was 2,000 miles away from home. Something was to happen to me, it's on my own hands.
Yep.
And it's kind of like you kind of grow into a man. So you find out who you are, you build your character off of that, and sometimes it's difficult for the parents and you when the man comes home, because there can only be one man in the house.
Yeah. So how soon was it before you started throwing again? You said you took 2 months off.
I take 2 months off.
What, September, October? So
I'd say September, October, maybe even November, kind of depending on what. I really didn't know when to be ready, because like I said, my first introduction to independent ball was through this guy who I met on a phone call who hooked me up in North Carolina. Like, all this little bit of tidbit information, but everything kind of just rolled very fast. So I'm kind of just rolling.
At that point, you were just trying to stay ready at all times.
Exactly. So, like, I knew I just needed to kind of, like, let my body kind of relax and recover for a little bit. Because, you know, being a pitcher, and especially trying to throw a lot of innings in different places, or, like, trying to find a role for a guy, like, you had to be ready. I had to be ready to be a reliever.
Yeah.
Or I had to be ready to take a spot start.
Which is what you did this past year. You relieved and you started for us.
Which, you know, in the end of it, probably wasn't the best idea, but it is what it is. In my just competitive nature, I wanted that start. You're going to give me a spot on the mound, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I usually I kind of just let my body tell me. If I feel like I need to start throwing, then I start throwing. I do a very, very simple exercises, and I'm very old school stuff. I really don't do a lot of the heavy ball stuff. I do throw short distance to begin with, probably 60, 90 feet within, you know, the first 2 weeks. That's as far as I extend it. Then I start trying to go out a little bit farther and a little bit farther, and then start incorporating bullpens. And I just have a very slow build-up process. I feel like that's the best way to do it, but it's accompanied by a lot of cardio and stretching, and you have to be in the gym with it a lot now. And I found that's, for me personally, you kind of just have to find what you know makes your body feel good and what's going to help it grow. Like, I can't sit there and give people my advice on, like, I can give them my routine and be like, this is what helps me. And they're like, this is what's going to help my son. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, this is what helped me. And your son could be completely different. Or your daughter can be completely different. But this is what I found helps me. You are more than welcome to take that, pick that apart. And I feel like you have to do that through, 5 or 6 different people before you will finally truly find what helps your body grow and manage. And a lot of guys are just looking like, man, I want to throw 90. Like, you do this, right? And I'm like, I do that because that's how my body works. And I get a lot of people who tell me a lot of times, it's like the catcher the other day, he told me, first thing he said to me, he's like, you don't use your lower half when you throw. And I was just like, that's just not how I pitch. Like, it's completely different. Chris Sale's potentially going to be a Hall of Fame pitcher one day if he keeps up the way he's throwing, and he goes against every pitching philosophy that has hit the shelves that is a mass-produced pitching thing. Yeah. But the guy's in the bigs right now. So
throwing 96 to 98.
Right, with a 90-mile-an-hour slider. So it's all about, you just kind of got to, there's no simple answers to it. You kind of got to pick it apart yourself.
Which, I do like that because we're all biomechanically built differently.
Right.
But what was your workouts like? I know one of the biggest things that guys don't really realize, because as you get older and, reality starts setting in and guys stop playing, depending on where you live at and who's around you. Sometimes it's hard to get work in. And I know me and you talked about this on the phone a lot during the off season, but we're talking about long tossing and we're taking buckets and long tossing into a fence by ourselves and then picking up all the balls.
You don't know the struggle of trying a long toss when you only have 90 feet to throw.
Yeah.
Because you just think, I'll just throw it hard into the net. Well, you don't really have a mental gauge of depth perception unless you see your ball go, and you want to talk about a frustrating thing is trying to long toss by yourself. So the only way you can truly do it is to get on a long field and just get a bucket full of balls and just throw them.
Just throw them.
And just throw them.
Yep. I like doing that on a football field so I can have a gauge of how far I am, how far I'm throwing the ball.
Right, which is smart. I've done it. I used to have to do it at my high school back home. And you kind of just get used to people are going to stare, people are going to look, and it's, people are going to ask questions, and you kind of honestly just if you don't laugh and get a little kick out of telling people what you're doing, because a lot of people think this stuff's incredible because they've never done something like this in their life where they've chased a dream or something that they wanted to do, and you'd be surprised at the responses you get from people that kind of will respect what you're doing.
Exactly, and that kind of changed my perspective, after my first year, and I kind of was telling people I was playing professional baseball, and I kind of realized that, like I said earlier, it's about the journey and not the end destination, because I realized that even though I wasn't in the big leagues, people didn't care. It wasn't about the big leagues. It was the fact that I had the opportunity to play professional baseball. Like, that was a platform in itself.
Right.
And, they didn't care where it was or who it was with, just the fact that I was able to do that. And that really changed my perspective on that. Just, people do think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing that you can only do it when you're young, so might as well live it up. Let's jump into a little bit more fun questions now. We have our list. Oh, my jaw just popped. We have our listener segment coming in. I want to start with a question of my own. Do you have any superstitions on the baseball field?
So, okay, I love this. This is a good one. So I had 3 pairs of sliding shorts coming up. I had a gray pair, which was a Mizuno pair, which I had for a long time. Okay, I'm not wearing a black pair now. I had a black pair of Under Armours with the red seam or the orange seams. I wore those all through Cal City, and there was the silver one, the gray ones, the black ones, and I had a third one. I can't remember what the third one is now, but they're gone too. So I'm only down to 2. But the days that I pitch, that I know I'm going to start, I wear the black ones, the black Under Armour with the orange writing on them. I wear those, and I don't know why. They're the best fitting ones, but I wear those every time I start.
So it's the sliding shorts is your superstition?
Yeah, it's not like shoes or like put my glove on some weird way. I also had another one, like if I was doing really good, every time I'd walk out to the mound, wherever they would throw it, I'd walk and I would straight leg pick up the ball with my left hand, and I'd flick it up, grab my right hand, and rub it with my glove under my arm. It was that was a weird one, but I started doing that one.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, it slid under the radar for a while.
So our first one from Danielle Turner, 981, and it's also from Midnight Moose. They asked the same question. But what is your pregame routine, your pregame ritual? What is that like?
Pregame ritual, pregame routine.
And let's take this from the perspective as like being in the cam and just everything's a lot more.
So we'll give a game day. We'll give a game day scenario here.
Yeah, like your game day routine, showing up to the field, locker, BP.
Everything's. Or we want to start from the beginning of the day.
Yeah, like
get up, go.
Yeah.
All right, so. Game days, I'm a big, Carson will tell you, I'm a big cook. I love to cook. It's my thing. Like, that's a therapeutic thing for me. And
boy, can he cook.
I cook okay. I'll say I don't do bad for myself. But I always get up. I cook a nice breakfast for myself. I'll usually make a big omelet or something that really hold me down just in case, like, something crazy happens when we got to play early. I got plenty of energy. I make sure I'm up. I'm a very big time guy. Time management is a huge thing for me. So I get to the field at, say the game's at 2 o'clock. I'm at the field at like 12:30, like 12, probably 11:30, just because I'm just ready to go. And even if I was being a reliever, I'm there early. I get there early. I go and I like to run when I get to the field. I don't know. I kind of just zone out. Like, I go into my own world, and I just come into the mindset that when it's my time to get handed the ball, I'm going to be ready to rock. And I just make sure everything that I do to prepare myself. So I just listen to my body. I go run. I usually run probably 2 or 3 poles just to kind of see if I need to run some more or not.
Which, I mean, the other day, we're throwing the other day at one of the fields out here. And we log toss, we get done throwing. I'm going and watching one of the games that's going on the other field. And I asked one of our other teammates, Mike, where'd Kortessis go? He's like, dude, he's been gone for like 30 minutes. He went on a 40-minute run around the complex. And I was like, it's freaking 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Florida. It's like 95 degrees. Oh, yeah. We just threw. What is going on? And you're taking off running.
It's the little things.
It is. I'm not a guy that's like long distance, or I like sprints over long distance, but it's like, man, this guy loves running.
I hate sprints. God, I'd rather run. If it was a choice between 10 100-yard sprints or 10 miles, I would probably take the 10 miles.
We did 10 miles once in college, and it was not fun.
I could do it. It's just, I hate sprints.
But so now getting back to the pregame thing, go ahead and finish off. I didn't want to cut you off.
No. But I do run a lot. But that's because I found that's what helps my body heal. So when I had thrown with you, Carson didn't mention this, but I had started, or I threw probably the day before.
Yeah, you did.
I threw the day before. So one of my aftercare things after I throw or have a long start, I do like to get an extended cardio day in 2 days after I throw, because it's just 2 days after you're usually at your sorest point. I usually get a nice arm workout in the day after I throw, and then the second day after that to get all that lactic acid worked out of your body, because your body warms up completely all over, especially when you're running in heat. So it's just like a good recovery thing that I found that physically benefits me, and I feel really good afterwards. I usually go and I work out at Planet Fitness, as you know, the Purple Palace, and use all their hydro machines and stuff like that, which is totally worth it. But yeah, after that 45-minute run, man, I just feel great, and it's.
And so now we're getting into BP and game time. Anything
for throwing?
No, but just in general, just getting ready for the game, and go through your throwing routine.
So throwing routine, after I get warmed up, I usually do some bands. I'm not a big bands guy afterwards, because I feel after I've thrown, I feel like the bands, if you overwork an area, you're just over tightening that, and a big part of how my pitching mechanics work is just flexibility and kind of snap through. So if I was to do that, I found that it personally made my shoulders a lot tighter, which caused me to do a lot different stuff that I wanted to do when I was on the mound. So pregame stuff, if I am starting, I like to, essentially get warmed up to about 90 feet, and then I kind of just work in a straight line, and you can't, unless you're watching the video, like I do work off of a straight line, imaginary line whenever I'm throwing. So everything I do is just simplified to make it to where I know every time I throw that fastball that it's going to be here in this line. So my mental straight line, whenever I'm warming up, I'm trying to like calibrate that in, basically. And once I get that dialed into about 90 feet, I like to stretch it out to about 120 feet, kind of get your arm loosed up to throwing harder and at more of a max intent, but still through the zone and into like the catcher. So, but my routine is very short. It's not very long. I don't take very long to warm up, other than like my initial getting to the field. Yeah. Which that's just, like I said, it kind of just depends on what the weather is, because I'll run 8-10 poles before a game. I really don't care as long as my body's hot and ready. And I really can't, truthfully, when I start sweating a little bit, that's when I feel like I'm ready. I'm like, all right. Like, exactly. I got a little sweat on me. Okay, we're good to go then.
So, are you one of those guys, like, say if you're in the pen that day, you're relieving, are you one of those guys that kind of has to have a heads up that you're going? I mean, obviously, you want to have a heads up that you're going in, but like needs like that extra time. Hey, Kortessis, you have the 8th and it's the 5th inning, like one of those kind of things where.
Or need to know like pregame, like what.
Yeah. Like, or could you be told kind of on the spot, like where you can get ready really quick? How are you in the bullpen?
As a relief,
because I know a lot of guys, in the bullpen, or I shouldn't say I know because I'm obviously playing, so I don't know what's going on down there. Y'all are a bunch of freaks in the bullpen, yes. But guys like to do their weighted balls or different mobilities or bands, just whatever makes them comfortable. So take us through that.
So like I said,
getting ready to go in.
Like I said, I'm not I don't do a lot of weighted ball stuff. I do one drill, which if you watched Carson's Snapchat the other day, was me cranking a softball into the ground as hard as I could. But that's just something that I have to do. That's like the only other extracurricular thing that I do besides like actual massaging of the muscles that gets me kind of ready for the game moment. And that kind of just helps me find a plant foot to really throw my body over and like get out front and throw down, because I tend to leave a lot of balls up. Yeah. So that mentally helps me get out front and kind of establish a plant foot on this foot to help me pitch. And other than that, it really doesn't take me very long.
So I mean, you can just.
I could be I could be on the spot kind of guy. I do prefer to get take my time though. And I found that I was effective at quick decision time. I could pull through the job, but I did a better job once I was informed earlier.
Which, I mean, I think that's part of being a bullpen guy. Sometimes it happens, on the spot. But, some guys are better at getting warmed up quickly than others. I mean, I know, like, for me personally, even, like, before a game, I mean, I could take 5 throws and be ready to go. I don't need to just really stretch it out for 10 or 20 minutes. Like, I'm ready to go, fairly quickly. And I know for pitchers, that happens too sometimes.
After a good pregame, if I was to go in like a mid-relief role, because I throw before every game, I feel like if you have, like, I just know my limitations on my arm, so like I said,
Exactly.
I just kind of go. You just gotta have a really good understanding of your body.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if some days I feel like I need to throw 3 times and call it a day and sit down, then that's what I'm gonna do. And truthfully, if you're kind of hanging that day, it's the best, especially if you're younger. Do not tear your stuff to try to impress people at this point in your life, because I look back at all those times where coaches are like, oh, you got to power through it, or you got to. It's like you really don't have to, because in fact of the matter
there's so
is,
many opportunities ahead of you.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot more chances ahead of you in bigger situations where you're like, I'm glad I didn't go out there because Jimmy's dad told me to. So
yeah. So our next question was also a playoff of our first question from Moose, Midnight Moose. Favorite stadium you've played in? It was a dual question.
Favorite stadium I played in? Man, that's a tough one, especially after bouncing around like in up there in Canada and stuff. I would probably have to say Rockland was probably my favorite. The Rockland Boulder Stadium in New Jersey, isn't it? I think it's New Jersey.
Somewhere, maybe New York.
New York, New Jersey.
Somewhere up there in the Northeast. I don't know.
It's up there.
One of those two.
I don't know. Like I said,
something with an N. I know that.
Something. Well, they're in Rockland.
Yeah.
So the Rockland Boulder Stadium, beautiful stadium. That was probably the most people I've ever played in front of. Whenever they had they had some sort of celebration going. I think it was National Jewish Heritage Day, and there was probably a couple thousand people there. It was just the chatter. The ballpark was just nuts. It was like a movie. It was, if you were to go sit in a movie theater and listen to a baseball game, that was that exact thing, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful sound.
Kind of thinking about that right now has me reminiscent on baseball season. I could just I can hear it in my head, like being on the field and hearing.
That's it. You hear the reactions of the
sounds.
crowd. The crowd's in it just as much as you are. You hear when people goof up. Some people laugh, and it was great. Interactions with the fans.
For me, I thought all those Can-Am stadiums were the best. For me, my personal favorite was Quebec.
Oh, yeah.
I got to play at A&M in college, and my first year in the Pecos, we played in Tucson for 4th of July, but Quebec was unfreaking believable.
But you got to play on Quebec's field. I just got to sit.
Yeah.
I got to hang out in the bullpen.
Did get to play on Quebec's field, but still, even just the atmosphere was.
Yeah,
it was a baseball atmosphere.
Yeah,
and it was a sold out crowd every night.
That was how Rockland was.
Oh man,
and you just love it. I mean,
that's
that's
something missing baseball now.
Well, it's because you finally get to be in that setting that you've wanted to so long that you dream about. People, they see you under the lights in this beautiful stadium, and there's people taking pictures of you, and there's cameras on you, and you're on the Jumbotron, and you're kind of like, man, this is kind of really happening. This is pretty cool.
All right, so our third question: who would you rather face, Mark McGwire on the Juice or Pablo Sanchez? This is from Pete Norton, our first guest on the Down in the Dirt podcast.
This is old Pete. Me and Pete go back to the nice spring lake. It's where we met in Texas. And honestly, Pablo's got that. Pablo's a fastball hunter, man. Like Mark, I think I could trick Mark up with some curveballs and some sliders.
His arms are too big. He couldn't get to it.
I'm snapping some breakers off. I might learn how to throw a change at that point, and yeah, I'd probably take McGuire on the sauce over Pablo.
All right, so our fourth and final question. Like I said at the very beginning of the episode, we were going to jump back at the very end about your beard. When did you start growing that? Because like I said, I looked at those college pictures, and you looked like me. There was nothing there.
Yeah, I grew, like, this thing, it just pops out of nowhere. And I shaved. That was the last time I shaved. Was at Pensacola. Actually, wrong.
Yeah, it was at USCB.
I shaved again my senior year because of the new coach that came in. He had a no beard policy, and I threw that out the window about halfway through the season and started regrowing it.
So did you have that thing in garden when you first got there?
I had.
Or was it like just
I knocked it back down. I'd say I was probably at a respectable length. Is what yours is.
Respectable.
It's respectable. It's not like too unclassy like this. I look. If you can see it on the camera, but in person it's something.
All right, so bouncing off that, this is from Jordan Cummings and Kent. I almost called him Clint. My bad, Kent. Kent Blackstone.
White Rock.
how to grow a great beard / what do you use to keep your beard flawless? Any special products that go into keeping that thing looking?
So I feel like I actually have this little black bag. There's 2 of them in my truck. One's got like toothpaste and stuff in it because you live out of your truck when you're in the Pecos and you're playing independent ball, so you're always on the road. So I've got a travel bag that's got like toothpaste and like some deodorant, some conditioner and stuff in it. But then I have this other little black bag that sits in my center console, and it's got Mountaineer beard oil in it. With a
shout out,
Mountaineer beard oil, beard company. I think I got your little bag. I love your product. I have a little wooden comb. I have the beard oil, and there's beard butter that I put in it. And it had beard shampoo, but I ran through that like the first 2 months. And you have to condition this thing because it's like it gets gnarly.
Oh yeah, I know what mine like. If I like, I'll wash it with shampoo, but if I don't condition it after a few days, like I can feel it gets like very coarse.
Yeah, it gets real wiry and stringy, and so for like 4 or 5 days, if I don't do anything with this, it's like it gets.
So I mean, basically, after having you on the show and growing my beard on my own, I'm gonna get a sponsorship for the show from who'd you say?
It's Mountaineer Beard Company, I believe.
Mountaineer Beard Company. So we're
Mountaineer brand, we'll find out.
We're gonna work on getting this show sponsored by Mountaineer Beard brand.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be pretty sweet.
I've bought their stuff twice now, and like, because a lot of fans of the beard are females. I know, big shocker. And their favorite thing to do is to run up and yank on it as hard as they can.
Yeah.
Because they just think it's hysterical. And Mountaineer beard oil has really toughened it up, and it makes it to where their hand like slips off of it, and then you can like get away. So
you can escape.
Yeah, you can get out of the clutches of them. So
shout
out to you guys for that.
Baseball players, we have beards, so I think it'd be a great little ad space for them.
This is actually This is for health reasons only. I mean, it blocks UV rays from. There's a large section here that is covered with a shaded density, and you know what? If I was to shave it off, it would probably be white. So no UV rays is burning up here. Okay?
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm just looking out for my health at this point.
And who else to do it than Mountaineer Beard brand?
Right.
I love it.
Who else to make you a healthier person than Mountaineer
and
Beard
a healthier
brand?
beard? So now let's jump into the quick question segment. I have about 7 questions for you here. Jump right into them.
Fire up.
Quick fire. Favorite cleats, brand and style, whatever is however you classify that.
So whatever Ross has on the shoe rack.
And you just got those blue Nikes.
I know, and they're
the
sweet.
Cal City blue Nikes.
Cal City blue Nikes, $7.99, 11.5. Beautiful cleats. I pitched great in them. And you know what? I'd have to say those are my favorites so far because they're just the ones I have that go on my feet.
Favorite bat? Same thing. Brand, company.
Oh, no. I got this one in the back. So Worth made a bat when I was probably 10 years old. It was a copperhead. It was blue and had red writing on it. And that sucker would ting. It was like, ping.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my God.
Those old BSRs.
I can hear it.
The kids
still.
these days don't know anything about the BSRs.
They don't know about the juice in those bats,
Gosh, those were awesome.
So I would have to say my favorite bat of all time would have to be Worth Copperhead Drop 12 blue bat.
Drop 12.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. I killed balls with that bat. Pinging everywhere.
I forgot how big the drops were when we were little kids.
Oh,
I forgot. Drop 3 didn't come around to like high school.
Yeah,
it was mandated.
We were literally swinging just like long beer cans is what we were swinging.
All right, seeds or gum?
Ooh, okay. It depends on the activity. I'm an activity guy. Like I like
baseball.
Well, I know. Am I in the bullpen? Am I announcing behind the plate? Like, I can't be hawking seeds everywhere if I'm announcing.
You're in the bullpen.
So if I'm in the bullpen, I'm more of a seeds guy. Because gum, if you have a pack of gum and you whip it out the pen, it's gone. Boom.
Yeah.
They eat it like vultures. Seeds, you can at least have a couple rounds, and they're like, oh, if you got seeds, that's where you bump some seeds off of them, and that's when that, oh, you ate all my seeds, you get the bag tomorrow.
It's a different life out there in the bullpen.
You learn how to barter. You learn how to do weird things. Lefties always have something interesting to show you.
Yeah, they bring the backpacks out there.
Yeah, lefties always have backpacks.
Don't
Lefties are just weird people. I think I honestly should have been left-handed. I was just beaten to be right-handed, so.
All right, so high pants or low pants?
I'm a low pants kind of guy, but I got some rocker. Well, okay, so pitching, if I was hitting, I would have my pants up.
I don't think I've ever seen you with your pants up.
Because look at these things. Look at these rockers.
I know, I see them.
They cut them pants, man, too tight. Cut circulation off. Slow me down. So I'm a pants down guy. Plus, I really don't have, like, I try to make my legs look as long as possible because I'm not real tall. So I get on the mountain.
I was always the opposite. I thought wearing my pants up made me look taller. I felt like when I wore my pants down, it made me look like a short little stumpy guy.
See, they'll see how big my calves are then. They'll be like, oh, he's definitely short then.
All right, you said, I know you said you didn't really watch baseball growing up, or watch TV, I should say, but favorite uniform in the MLB? Do you have one?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't. I literally don't watch.
We don't have one.
I don't. I mean, I'm always a fan of St. Patrick's Day uniforms just because they're green, and that's literally.
They just wore those the other day.
Yeah,
I know the Red Sox ones. The Red Sox ones are sweet.
But those are ones with the white. I've seen the ones with the either the white hat.
Yeah, white hat, or white top, green bill, white lettering on a green jersey.
I think that's the one I want, and
so
it was
sick.
They were nice.
They're sick. Okay, you make it to the big leagues. You get your first contract, first check, whatever you want to call it. What's your first purchase with your MLB check, MLB contract?
I'm going to have to buy new clothes because I'm going to cry all over the ones that I got. But I honestly, first realistic purchase would probably be, I'm going to get myself a nice vehicle. Like, I've literally, I had the same truck since high school, since I was 16 years old. It's got 200-something thousand miles on it. It's literally made it to California and limped back. So I'm going to go buy a nice vehicle for myself. But after that, man, truthfully, whatever my family needs, I would just do it that way. I mean, and I would. I'd set my parents up to where they had their stuff taken care of. I'd buy myself a house. Nice little piece of land. I've thought about this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Pay off my sister's whatever she's got. Help her get her thing. Set her 2 kids up for some college funds, and
I've done the same thing.
And just kind of live life.
You got to sit there and visualize the moment, and I know for me it's like that moment that the manager wherever calls you in and says, "Hey, you're going to the big leagues," and it's the moment of getting to tell my dad,
"Yeah,
hey, it was all worth it. It all paid off."
Right.
So I've done that same thing. I know how you feel about
the
family situation.
It's an emotional thing, man, and it's crazy to think that's a driving factor behind something that hasn't happened, or there's no prediction that it's guaranteed to happen, but it's something that I want so bad that I can feel those emotions already.
Exactly.
And they're already overwhelming enough that the day that it potentially does happen, like, I'm just probably break down and cry.
Which you have every right to. Last question, and then we're going to sign off. If you could sit down with one player in history, who would it be? Do you have anyone that you could sit down with?
With one player, who would it be? His name is Jim Palmer, and I wrote a paper on him, and he was a two-way guy. So my junior year, this is the type of shit that our coach would do my junior year. So our junior year, that sucker gave us each a baseball player to do a report on. Not like a paragraph, a 2-page report to turn back in. And he had picked out players, every level, and he was like, these are who people I think, remind me of you. And they were professional players. And he gave me Jim Palmer. And I did a report on him, and he was a two-way guy, right-handed thrower. And I probably just want to sit down and pick his brain for a little bit because, it's like, I kind of knew his life. I honestly couldn't tell you anything other than that and his name. But I would probably want to sit down with him because I did do a book report on him. And I thought it was pretty cool that my coach envisioned me as this guy. He's like, I could see you being him in the pros. And I was like, that's pretty cool that you see me as this guy. And I was like, I'd probably like to meet that guy, see how he was.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's obvious answers. Like, I'd love to meet Derek Jeter or, like, Nolan Ryan, because it's just a hard-throwing Texas guy who beat the piss out of somebody on the mound. I'd like to shake that man's hand.
Okay. Now, the last thing I ask from you before we sign you off is just whatever kind of advice you have to give to any kids, high school, college, younger than that, just anybody that's listening. Any advice you want to give them, any guidance for their career that helped you and you think can help them?
I really, like I said, it kind of all rolls back to if you truly don't love or enjoy just doing what you're doing, no matter if it's baseball or not, if you truly don't enjoy doing that, I would just ask you to find the reason to what's stopping you from doing what you're doing or doing what you want to do, what's stopping you, confront that, and then just kind of go on to do what you really want to do in life. There's nothing stops you in this world but yourself. And it's taken a long time for me to see that, other than like money, because money, you got to have some money for some gas to like go do your stuff. So maybe figure out a way to get like $100 in gas and then go do your thing. But don't ever let anybody other than you tell you what to do. And I had people for the longest time growing up, not growing up, but like through my career as a baseball player, tell me what I couldn't do. And, I kind of took it in the wrong way when I was younger, but as I got older, I just kind of used that, as we say, the internal fire. Like, it fuels me to prove them wrong because they have no reason to tell me that I can't do that. So, overall, just some generic advice that kind of goes with my philosophy with everything. Just kind of keep it simple and do what you want to do and don't let nobody stop you.
If you believe in it, you can do it.
You can do it, and that is the true. That is the true truth.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me.
Sitting down with me. I had a blast, dude.
I had a good time.
I'm glad we got to sit down, talk, interview for the podcast. So all you guys could. Justin, I'd say one of the best dudes I've met in baseball. So to have him on, allow him to share his story with you guys. Like I said, the fact that he having that gap between baseball, going junior college before he went to his university, just kind of give you guys a little bit more insight of the path that you can take. Like you said, that the picture is not always as clear as it may seem to get to where you want to be. So that's why I wanted to bring him on. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for getting down and dirty with me in the podcast. Thanks for tuning in for my interview with Justin Kortessis. Y'all, that's what we got to do. We got to sign you off. Where can all my listeners find you on social media if they want to follow you?
So, listeners, if you are listening and you just want to keep up with my wild and crazy life, you can follow me at Instagram. It's at Kortessis, which is Kortessis, which just seems to give everybody a problem because it's just Greek and all over the place. So, I appreciate you having me on the show, Carson. Carson Lee, great guy. One of the best guys who I've met through independent ball, and I'm thankful that I have met him. Him and his family have literally done nothing but made me feel at home through my entire experience through this country and Canada. So, I have nothing but love for Carson, and I appreciate everything he's done for me. And, I'm excited to see where his journey takes us, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate this.
Thank you guys for listening. Till next time.
Thank you.
And that's the end of my interview with Justin Kortessis. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Doing these interviews and hearing people's different stories and journeys is so entertaining and rewarding. So I hope you guys are not only enjoying it, but are able to take a piece of it to apply to yourself as well. Like I said, Justin is one of the best dudes I've met in this game, and that's one of the coolest things about being able to play professional baseball is just the different people you get to meet from all over the country and that you get to play with year in and year out and the relationships you get to build. But that's going to do it for this episode. I thank you guys for getting dirty with me on the Down in the Dirt podcast. I am wanting to add in some music and effects on the show, so let me know if you would like that. I'm not really sure how to do it or where to get the music from, so if you have any idea how I could go about that, please let me know. But till next time, guys.